Welcome to Cat Chat with Penny. I'm Penny, and it's time for Cat Chat. Now you'll notice, if you haven't noticed, but usually I do Cat Chat at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern. Um, but life's changed, so I'm moving into the evenings, and I hope that that works better for some of you all as well. Because it's hard to go live if you're nowhere near your computer and your camera and everything else. So that's why we're here. So, one of the things that people don't like about cats, and people who claim to not like cats, I don't know what's wrong with those people, but we'll smile and nod and say, okay, it's normal. You don't have to like every cat. Um, Cats can be aggressive. Cats can be pretty bitey, pretty awful, really. They can do some serious damage. So, what causes this? I mean, most of us, our experience with cats are, they're cute and cuddly. We pet them, we love them, they're fuzzy, they lick you. And sometimes they get a little pointy and they start playing and they bite you and it's not so comfortable. But sometimes they're just downright mean and you try to understand why that is. And it's hard not to take it personally. But what we're going to talk about today is, well, is it really your fault or is it just something else going on? So what causes aggression and what can you do about it? Like I said, this is the new Wednesday evening edition of Cat Chat with Penny. I'm Penny. I run Mew Mew House, which is a retirement home and hospice for cats. And several of my cats actually come to me because of aggression issues, which is why this seemed appropriate. At this point, I usually like to ask people where they are, where they're watching from. You in the US? Are you watching from outside of the country? I'm in the United States. I'm in Western New York. It's actually kind of warmish today. It got above freezing, which isn't necessarily a good thing because that means all the snow and ice is melting, which makes it just kind of a nightmare to be outside. So, but if you're watching this live, go ahead and drop a comment, hashtag live if you're watching live, hashtag replay if you're watching this on replay, and let me know where you're watching from because I'd just like to know where this is reaching. So let's talk about aggression in cats. And it's easy to misinterpret. Last week I talked to you about whether or not it's easy to recognize pain in cats because well, cats don't seem to show facial expressions like we're used to. And dogs as well are very good at showing facial expressions that we can recognize as human beings. But cats have them too. And cats can be angry and they can be aggressive. What does this look like? Well, what we usually associate with aggression is hissing, scrubbing, um, biting, scary, actual clawing, yowling. "Meow." Yes, yes, when they're singing you the song of their people can be not a good thing. They growl, they can growl very loudly. You'd be surprised how an 8-pound package can make that much noise. And then they get rather poofy, for lack of a better word. They poop, right? This could be a number of things that's causing this. I just wanted to make it clear that what looks like aggression, looks like they're after you, so to speak, might not be malicious at all. We need to really kind of change our attitudes about what's going on with cats and why they're being hissy and swipey and fluffy and bitey. And most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it does. But even then, it's probably not your fault unless you're doing something stupid. Okay. And I will give you some examples of the dumb things I have done that have gotten me swiped, bitten, scratched, hissed at, all sorts of stuff. So probably the number one, the reason why we most often see cats hiss, scratch, is fear or anxiety. So when you first bring a cat into the house, cat's going, what is this place? Who is this person? I don't know what's going on. And I especially have this problem because I'm bringing cats in to a very busy household that's full of cats. And there's like, oh man, no, we don't want to do any part of this. This is unfun. So there's a lot of hissing, a lot of scratching, a lot of anger, and some of it gets directed at me, some of it gets directed at other cats. And it's not because they're being malicious, they're scared. They're terrified. I mean, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. It's not like they can write a book or write a letter, say, "Dear other cats, dear person, I'm scared." No, they've got a very limited vocabulary, and most of it involves getting very big, getting poofy, or hissing and hissing. So you got to pay attention to that. Ears go back, they're pretty upset. This is something I'm used to seeing. Um, it also, you see in cats that are familiar with you, but you bring a new cat into the house or a new person into the house, they'll respond the same way. So that most of the time they will just run and hide. This is sort of a fight or flight reaction. They'll run and hide if they can. If they can't, well, they're going to fight, and they're pointy, as you are undoubtedly aware. And sometimes, now this is another thing. Cats that have been declawed. Now, I do not approve of declawing in any way, shape, or form. Most people who care about cats are very anti-declawing, but it happens. Okay, I have a handful of cats in this house that have been declawed. I would never do it myself. It's now illegal to do this in the state of New York, which is fantastic as far as I'm concerned. But declawing causes problems, and so sometimes cats that have been declawed will protect themselves, but they don't have their claws to scratch you with. They will protect themselves in other ways. So again, this is a fear response, an anxious response, but it looks very scary. I mean, it's effective. Right? They want you to go away, and that's what happens. Another thing that can result in what we interpret as aggression in cats is if they're not feeling well. I mean, if they're in a lot of pain or if they're sick, you start manipulating them. I mean, let's be honest, if you're not feeling well, you don't like being poked or prodded, right? You just want to be left alone. Please stop. Now, let's say you can't say, knock it off, right? Somebody, you've broken your wrist and somebody's manipulating it, and you can't say, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. So what do? You smack them, you bite them, you do whatever you can, you scream, you make a big noise, try to scare them away. If you're not feeling well, somebody's bugging you, you're just like, go away. So again, if they're not feeling well, they may react in a very negative way. I mean, and even as humans, if we're feeling a little bit off, we have very short tolerance for people, other people, right? So it happens. So if they're not feeling well, that's the thing. Another thing that happens with cats, yes, they are territorial. All right, they have their space. I have a big house, but I have a lot of cats. Some cats prefer some rooms, and other cats go in there and they're like, oh, no, 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 this is my space. Right. And sometimes they fight with each other, and you get in the middle of it and you get bit. All right. So if they're being territorial, they're just trying to protect their space, and just like humans, some cats have like a comfort bubble. My bubble is actually pretty big. Some people have a very small bubble. Cats are the same. It's funny how you see the one cat that likes to get all snuggly, trying to get comfortable with the one cat that doesn't like to be touched, and they get mad at each other. And if you're too close to it, you're going to get hit. I've definitely been. It's hilarious when I have one cat on this side of my head and one cat on this side of my head, and I'm trying to sleep, but they notice each other, and they don't like each other. Yes, I've been woken up in the middle of the night by a cat fight right over my face. It's really unpleasant. But, they have their space. And I have some cats that are extremely territorial, extremely, like, they own this space. And, what do? You mitigate that as best you can. It helps in my situation that I have a big house. So I'm gonna do another cat chat more specifically about cat on cat aggression. This is what I'm thinking. Today we're talking mostly about cat to human aggression. I will do another cat chat about, what do you do when your cats are fighting with each other. So yet another way that you can wind up getting attacked by your cat is if your cat is frustrated because there's a cat outside. It's been out there yowling. I'm angry. Oh, and there you are. Human, this is your fault. Right? So you wind up in the wrong place, wrong time, you get bit. I've definitely been bit. where actually two of my cats been fighting. I picked one up to remove them. This is not something I recommend. For this reason, I picked one up, moved him, said, okay, we're done. And then he was like, no, we're not done. And he bit the crap out of me. And I wound up the next day in the urgent care with an infection. So, you know, don't do that. Don't be dumb. Yes, that was my mistake. And now I don't do that. I use a broom or something to separate the animals. You don't hit the animals. You separate them. Again, this is a topic for another day. Um, but sometimes the cats will get frustrated if they can't beat up that other cat. They're gonna beat you up. There you go. Now this is one that gets misinterpreted all the time. Play aggression. Cats get excited. People do this too, right? Especially the little kids. I've seen this in adults. I've seen this in myself a couple times, where if you're fighting or if you're playing, you're having a good time, and suddenly you're getting really loud, you're getting rambunctious, and it gets out of control. Okay. Same thing happens with cats. They're playing, having a good time, but they take it a little bit too far, and suddenly somebody's bleeding. It's a thing. It happens. So it's not malicious, right? It just it is. And the way you deal with that is just to separate yourself from the cat. You don't ever hit a cat. You just separate yourself from the cat because usually what the cat wants is to play with you, just like a dog. They want to play with you. And if you take away your attention, they're going to notice that. That's usually enough. But what we've talked about so far are all things that are happening that's not malicious, okay? I mean, they might be attacking you, but they're not like angry at you or out to get you. They're scared of you. They're not feeling well. They have space, but it's mostly, a cat thing. You've gotten in the middle of something. They're trying to get at something else and you got in the way, or they're just playing extra hard. The one thing that could be about you is if they're not well socialized. And in this case, I'm thinking about cats like feral cats, right? They don't know how to deal with people. They're like people are the bad ones. People are the ones that they're the reason. People are the reason why they're feral, or they've never dealt with people. So it's difficult. And some semi-feral cats, and you can teach them, you can socialize them, but there really is a window early in a kitten's life where they can be socialized with people most effectively, and outside of that window, there may be problems. Um, so it could be lack of socialization with people. It could also be being removed from their mother too soon. There are reasons why it's best to let a kitten stay with its mom for the first 8 to 10 weeks of its life. I mean, they wean at like 6 weeks, so you think that they can go, but that last little bit is when mama cat teaches them how to behave. And that's when they learn how to interact with other cats and also how to interact with people. So if you're raising kittens, it's really the best to let them stay with their mom for as long as you can tolerate it. Because otherwise you wind up with weird aggression, weird behaviors. Um, Also have some cats here that, wound up in situations where the socialization they got wasn't appropriate. One of the cats, he has a tendency to bite um, randomly. And, you know, it's difficult. And it's because he was stuck in a basement for about a year. And of course he doesn't trust people. So he may have been a perfectly fine cat, but he's kind of, the socialization got really messed up. So when we think about the kinds of aggression we see most often in cats, a lot of it has to do with the lack of socialization and not knowing what to do with themselves. I do have another cat that sort of goes in the sort of the play aggression into, ouch, you're hurting me. She gets really excited when it's treat time. It's it's hilarious and sad because as soon as I pull out the treats, which I do this for the started with just giving treats to diabetic cats, but the other cats noticed. So now we have treat time, and she runs in and she's so excited. She's meowing. She's ready to eat the treats. She takes them right out of my hand, which itself is an unusual thing. But then she gets really excited and all of a sudden, boom. she puffs up and she starts like trying to take my finger with the treats. And I tried to pick her up one time to calm her down, and I got scratched pretty good. She bit me. And so again, this can come with overstimulation and not knowing what to do. Um, so if they're not properly socialized by people or their parents, they don't know what to do and they get really upset and really excited. And this is a thing. But fundamentally, all of these are not, your cat has a vendetta against you. They're all things that are perfectly understandable. Cats are, intelligent and social creatures, even though we don't think they are. A lot of people think they're aloof and not interested in socializing, but they can be incredibly social. When I go to bed at night, there's usually anywhere from 5 to 12 cats on my bed with me, which makes it interesting to try to roll over a little bit. You hear, and you're like, oh, dang. But they actually like each other's company. They just like to have space, and then they don't show their emotions very well. You just have to pay attention to them. But they are very affectionate creatures, and the ones that have aggression problems, there's usually something else underlying that. With that, I do like to talk about my favorite success story. I I don't even have a picture of her. Let me see. Do I have a picture of her? I might not. No, I don't have a picture of her posted on here. But this beautiful kitten named she's not a kitten. She was 14 when I got her. I named her Ginger. She will be featured tomorrow on my sort of the Thursday introduction to pets. Um, she was at risk of being euthanized because she was being really super aggressive towards her person. This was an interactive affair. I'm not placing blame anywhere on anyone or anything, but she would swipe at her person would be scared, swipe back, hit with a broom, probably, all of that kind of thing. And then there was this fear, snowball effect. And suddenly, poor Ginger was a cat that you couldn't touch without getting bitten. And I admit, when I picked her up, I got destroyed. I mean, it was scary how scratched up I was. And I was like, I should have brought heavy gloves. Every day is a lesson learned. I don't blame the cat. It was my own stupid mistake for not thinking I should put on those big, thick leather gloves that I usually use. And for months, she would hide and growl and scream and be angry towards the other cats. And today her favorite place to be is on top of me with all of the other cats. She purrs, she headbutts, she lets me pick her up, she accepts chin scritches. Sometimes she gets overstimulated and bites and swipes, but hey, that's what I get. She has her scars, her trauma, and that's okay. But she's a wonderful cat now. Nobody would know. Nobody would know. So we have to change our mindset about cats and their aggression and realize that there's something that happened that made them the way they are. And in her case, it was just a whole system of things that went wrong. Another cat that I have here, his name is Arthur Dent. He was featured yesterday. He came as a semi-feral cat. They were trying to socialize, but he was too old when he was trapped. He was trapped with an injury, so they couldn't just TNR him and send him right back. So he had to recover and spent way too long at a vet clinic. And it's been 3 years now. And now I still can't pick him up. But he purrs, he holds his tail up, which is a big deal in cat talk. And I can give him scritches and I can pet him a little. And he's a happy guy. Again, if I'm not paying attention, yeah, he could have been viewed as a very aggressive, dangerous cat, but really, he wasn't properly socialized because he was born a feral and raised a feral, and then trapped as a a teenage kitten, and he hadn't been properly socialized with people, and he's never going to be a cuddle bug, but he's a great cat anyway. So I hope this is something that helps you. When you're dealing with cats, you're worried about them being aggressive. I really hope that the one thing you get out of all of this is that aggression is not malicious. I mean, I'm sure there are some cats that are just mean, okay? Some cats can be just jerks. But most of the time, 99% of the time, cats are just scared or there's something else going on. And we just have to be sympathetic to them and be patient. Give them space. Let them approach you first. And if they don't want to be around you, let them go. It's fine. If you enjoyed what you heard, please like and share. Talk to your friends. Tell them about me, Cat Chat. And, my mission is with Mew Mew House, providing retirement and hospice for cats that aren't properly socialized or, have problems that they just can't survive the regular adoption process. That's why Mew Mew House was born. So if you like that, if you like this, like, share, tell me what you think. And if you want to know more, you can go to mewmewhouse.org and or you can check out the links in my bio and hopefully we can start a conversation. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week, 2 more days of the regular work week, and I will see you next week. Bye now.